Hello, friends. So I just wanted to go over, I just got this nice graphic from Unite and on the organizing principles of polyvagal theory. So I thought it'd be great to go through so long as we have it. So these three pieces are sort of the primary aspects of polyvagal theory. We've got the polyvagal ladder, which they're calling hierarchy here, which is the idea that there are three circuits of the autonomic nervous system, the dorsal, the sympathetic, and the ventral. Then we've got neuroception, which is the idea that our vagus nerve is constantly scanning the environment, other people, and our bodily functions for signs of danger and cues of safety. And then co-regulation, which is the idea that we're connecting in with other beings for that support and protection and reassurance. So let's go through those. Stephen Porges, of course, is the one who came up with this polyvagal theory. And it's around understanding that we don't just have this binary, which I love. It's like a non-binary theory. I never even noticed that before, but that's fun to see the word binary. I tend towards all things that are non-binary. So rather than just think about sympathetic, parasympathetic, or like the fight, flight, rest, digest, polyvagal just helps us to understand that there's a lot of in between. There's a lot of gray, there's a lot of mixed, there's a lot of blended states, there's bouncing in between states. And it can help us to understand how in real time we're moving between all of these things. Okay, so the autonomic ladder, which Deb Dana came up with, talks to us about these three circuits or pathways of the vagus nerve, and specifically gives us the reason why it's a hierarchy or on a ladder. It helps us to understand how the system works. So ventral can't we can't move towards ventral from dorsal. We have to go up the ladder from dorsal through sympathetic and up to ventral. And that's where this idea of effective mobilization comes in, that there is this sympathetic mobilizing that occurs as we move up towards ventral. So ventral is that pathway of the parasympathetic branch that has to do with the ability to connect with others and the here and now. So it's the present moment, open to, flexible, engaged, able to tune out that irrelevant stimuli, what we're not having to hyper focus on any perceptions of threat. We feel pretty connected and engaged. Now, ventral can also be blended with sympathetic and dorsal for different types of activities. So ventral is never just like pure ventral. When ventral is blended with sympathetic, we have the energizing aspect of sympathetic giving that connection some mobilizing or some energy. So we're able to do things like drive a car or play in a soccer game or give a presentation or organize a video like this. When we mix ventral with dorsal in a dorsal ventral blended state, it's when we get sort of that immobilized support with the connection of the ventral. And we can do things like meditate or pray or have intimate connection with other people or ourselves. Um, Excuse me, dorsal. My vagus nerve is like, are you talking about us? We're gonna yawn. Dorsal is that sort of like path of last resort. It's the least effective of all of them, and it is more what we would describe as disassociation or depression or that freeze state. It's a sympathetic response. It's when the sympathetic response is insufficient of protecting us or eliminating the perceived threat. So it's when a lot of us experience this in childhood because we're like, even though I'd like to fight, I'm not strong enough to because the authority is too big and too threatening. Or I'd like to run away, but I know I don't have a chance, so I'm just gonna give up. It can feel kind of hopeless. And it just is like I'm just playing dead and I'm conserving what I can. And it can feel pretty disconnected. Whereas in sympathetic, we actually feel that danger. Dorsal can feel more like apathetic. Um, so those are the three circuits or pathways of the vagus nerve and laid out with that autonomic ladder. So it's important to notice that we are not trying to stay in one versus the other. Again, like I say constantly, we're not trying to stay in ventral. What we want to be able to do is move flexibly between all of these and have a blend of the three as we go through. Okay, I am going to pause this recording. Hold on. Okay, 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. So my kiddo was calling and I need to make sure that nothing was wrong. Okay, so let's share this again. So yeah, we want to really acknowledge that it's not that we want to stay calm. It's not that we want to stay in ventral. We want to be able to shift between these, in and out of them, and in and out of the blended states. There's no like good or bad state. They all are effective for different situations, and that's why we have access to all of them. And the thing that can be ineffective is when we get stuck. And so that's something that the nervous system work seeks to support is increasing that flexibility so that we can have the tools and knowledge of how this system works so that if we're in one and it's not effective, we can support ourselves in moving out of it. Okay. All right, so neuroception. Neuroception is the idea that there's this interconnected network of the neural circuits, right? And they all have specific functions. And the neuroception is the subconscious like decision that our senses are doing in every moment to notice like are we safe or are we in danger. So we've got inside interoception, which is inside the body. So that's like my body may say like, hey, there's too much salt in your system, or hey, there's not enough sugar in your blood, or hey, you need more oxygen. Then there's outside, which is the interoception, which is like through our five senses. Like, okay, I am smelling smoke, so that means danger, or I can see that there's an animal running towards me, or I can hear thunder, things like that. And then there's the in between other people's nervous system and yours. So it's like I walk into a room and immediately I'm like, oh, there's a bad vibe in here. Or I look up at my parent and I see that they have like an angry expression on their face. So I'm like, okay, I might need to be on high alert. So there's three ways that the body is, or that the autonomic nervous system is gathering this information. And it's using this information to compare with all of the knowledge that it's gained from your own personal life, from evolution, from your ancestry via epigenetics. Okay. And then the last piece or principle is co-regulation. And this one is tricky because a lot of people think that only that you can only co-regulate like between people. And I would like to offer that co-regulation is possible between people, animals, plants, in a lot of indigenous and ancient wisdom traditions, all things have consciousness. So you can have co-regulation with the land, with nature, with even for me, I think you can have co-regulation on a spiritual level with ancestors or with guides or other beings that you connect with your higher self, with the God of your understanding. Even with books or pieces of media, you know, have been times in my life where some of my best friends are authors, right? Where I had such a meaningful connection with a piece of um, art or media that someone had created. And so the idea that we're connecting and that we are shifting our nervous system state to they sort of say like you can match up with the nervous system state. You one state can bring another like towards it, and that is co-regulation in the context of our one-on-one sessions, maybe with our therapists or our coaches or teachers, hopefully, but not always. What that provider is providing you with is that sort of safe and nurturing um, state so that the other person can come and meet them there and feel like they can join in that safety. So polyvagal theory is the idea that our nervous system can be supported so that we can make these safe connections and then have a stronger personal foundation for supporting our own self and our health. Now, this part down here talks all about how that's based on the first caregiver relationship. They're very binary in their use of the word mother, but that first caregiver is sort of designed to offer that co-regulation and to have um, that human voice be an indicator of co-regulation. This is not always the case. Many of us did not have that opportunity to have that human voice of that first caregiver be the foundation for connecting safety with humans. And so that's where we can get the piece around neuroceptive mismatch, which is when we are we no longer connect that human voice with a cue of safety because of dangerous situations that we've been in with humans. And so this is what part of the work of doing the SSP, the Safe and Sound Protocol, or nervous system education is giving yourself the opportunity to reacquaint yourself with the speech sound frequencies as a cue of safety and to gain more flexibility so that you're not seeing those speech sound frequencies as just threat. So there's just a little overview of the principles of the polyvagal theory. Hope that was interesting. And see you soon. Love ya.